Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So a while back, KXRORS sent me the S300, a fantastic small form factor case that offered a compact design, competitive price, and support for some top-of-the-line hardware, which I took to the extreme and stuffed way more in than I should have. Now, KXRORS has released its bigger, more spacious sibling, the S500. I'm Jesse, this is Bartman's Bits, and today we are once again cramming an insane amount of hardware into a tiny case. Right off the bat, let's list the specs of this case. So this is offered in white or black. I went with black to accent the smattering of white components that I have. It's 340 millimeters long, 170 millimeters wide, and 276 millimeters tall. It supports Mini-ITX motherboards, a full ATX power supply, up to a 240 millimeter AIO, and a graphics card with a max length of 336 millimeters. On the side, you have a lit power button, USB 3.0 Type A port, and right behind that is a USB Type C. These side panels are brushed aluminum, and the rest of the case is SPCC steel. There are mesh panels on each side, as well as top and bottom, and a magnetic dust filter that sits on the underside to help keep things clean. There is space for a 2.5-inch SSD below the motherboard, or you can put a thinner 3.5-inch hard drive, or a slim 120mm fan. Finishing off the case, there is a leather handle on the top, making it easy to carry around if you should choose to do so. As always, here's a quick video of the build process. Roll it. The build is over, so now it's time to talk about what I like and what I don't like about this case. For one, it's small. That's a like. I also didn't have any difficult time building it, which means it's well thought out with no tricks to assembly. I like the I/O being on the side here. This is most likely ending up on a desk. This is the easiest to access position. The handle? Well, that may seem gimmicky, but I really like it. Being able to easily pick this up and wipe under it to keep the dust away is such a great feature. Some other cases are just, well, they're downright hard to grab. Thermal performance was on par with what you'd expect from an SFF case. Being that it is all mesh, there really isn't a need to design an airflow path. The PSU and GPU are both pulling in cold air from the sides, and the AIO is pulling cool air from the bottom, pushing hot air out the top. The 7950X hit 90 degrees under Cinebench runs, and under full load, the Dell 3090 was at 75C. Now that Dell is notoriously loud, so putting in basically any other graphics card will bring down that noise level quite a bit. When it's sitting at idle, which it is now, the loudest thing in this build is the SSD fan on the motherboard. The layout of this case is a center spline with components sandwiched on either side. The GPU hangs upside down towards the top, which gives a surprising amount of space at the bottom for cable management, which you can see here I did none of, and instead opted for the stuff it in and close it up approach. Before this goes into my kids' room for a multi-seat configuration, video on that coming soon, I'll make sure everything is nice and tidy. Now, if we take the cover off here real quick, you can see that you can fit a full-size ATX power supply into this case with a few restrictions. Only specific dimensions are allowed, and I can see why. It's a tight fit. Your PSU needs to be 150 by 140 by 86, and after a quick comparison on Newegg, looks like only a handful fit those dimensions. The EVGA P5 1000 that I put in here is 10 millimeters wider than what should go in here, but it fit just fine. That's the upper limit of what will fit though. Cases like the Lee & Lee Q58 have support for ATX power supplies just like the S500, but to make it fit, the AIO must be limited to just 120 millimeters. The S500 may have tight restrictions on the size of ATX power supply used, but if you stay within the required specs, you can still fit a 240mm AIO like I've done during my build here. Now, other SFF cases will require you to use an SFX power supply, which will add to the cost of the build. Okay, so what are a couple misses with this case? For one, it would be nice to see a PCI 4 extension included to offer better compatibility with the latest generation hardware. A change in BIOS is required to force PCI 3 and get your GPU up and running. So if you don't have a CPU with integrated graphics, you may want to invest in a new PCIe 4 riser. Now, we are going on the 3rd generation of hardware that supports PCIe 4, so this should be included with all SFF cases with the option to select PCIe 3 at a lower price. The other thing I didn't like is the lack of an audio connection on the I/O panel. Other cases have this option, and it's something I was a little bummed to see missing. Now, one minor issue is how the bottom side panels actually attach to the case. They're held in by like little balls that fit into plastic sockets on the case. I found these to be overly tight, and when you push hard enough to try to get it secured, the back will just pop right off. It's relatively easy to put back on, and I'm sure after a couple times on and off, it'll fit better. It's just a little annoying when you go to finish up the build and it pops off. Other than that, there really isn't anything else that is to dislike about the S500. Before getting to my final verdict on this case, let's pit it up against some similar cases. Here are the sizes for the Cooler Master NR200P, the Lian Li Q58, the Fractal Terra, and the S500. This puts it right in between the Lian Li Q58 and the Cooler Master NR200P in terms of size, but more expensive than both. Although, with the current discounted price, it's only a handful of dollars more. Those other cases do not offer the same hardware compatibility as the S500, so it boils down to what hardware you have and how much you're looking to spend. The ability to use those cheaper full ATX power supplies will more than make up the difference in price between the S500 and those other cases. So I guess that's a bonus for the KXRORS. All right, so let's wrap this up, shall we? This is another great case from KXRORS, and other than a few nitpicky items, it's a solid case for anyone looking to complete an SFF build. Solid construction, well thought out component placement, AIO, and full ATX support at a competitive price. If you want to pick up one of these, there's a link in the description. If you want to support the channel and get a cool t-shirt while doing it, head to the Bartman's Bits website, also in the description. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.